Welcome back. In our previous lesson, we have discussed about matrix questions. In this lesson, we're going to talk about validation criteria. Validation criteria are rules that are applied to survey questions to ensure the responses meet specific requirements. And they are usually used to enhance data quality. For example, users can limit responses on age values. So in this lesson, we're going to look at simple validation criteria and then complex validation criteria using the regex codes. So let me add this question. How old is the respondent? So I'm going to select the number and make it mandatory. And the hint says the respondent should be 18 years old and above. So this is the hint. Now, to achieve this hint, a validation criteria has to be used. So to add a validation criteria, simply go to settings and click on validation criteria. Then on this, you can see that you have two options. The first option is simply adding the inbuilt validation criteria or inbuilt rules. And for this one, you can create your own validation criteria. And you can either use the regex codes or XLS forms in Microsoft Excel. So let's simply add a simple validation criteria by clicking on add condition. So it says this question will be valid only if the following conditions apply. This question's response has to be, and from the hint it says should be 18 years old and above. So I'm going to click here and select the condition. Should be greater than or equal to, and the response value, it should be 18. On error message, you can specify the message which should appear once an invalid value has been entered. For example, please enter a valid age. So we can preview this. How old is the respondent? And the hint says the respondent should be 18 years old and above. So what will happen if I put 16? I press enter, it says please enter a valid age. What is going to happen if I put any value above 18? For example, 19. You can see that it has accepted. And 18, it has also accepted. But what if I put 200? So it has also accepted. But as of now, I don't think we have someone who is 200 years old. So we also need to limit the highest value. So you go to settings, validation criteria, I simply click on add another condition and change this to less than or equal to. So first of all, let's change this question here. So I say the respondent should be between 18 and 65 years old. Now, this second response now, we're going to put 65. So these are the conditions. And the error message, we're not going to change this. Let's just read the way it is. Let's preview it. So how old is the respondent? The respondent should be between 18 and 65 years old. So if I put any number which is less than 18, for example, 17, it says enter a valid age. But if I put any number between 18 to 65, for example, 45, you can see that it has accepted. But what if I put any number above 65, for example, 66, it says please enter a valid age. So that's how you can simply limit responses using the built-in conditions. Sometimes you will need to use complex validation criteria in order to collect quality data. So do that, you can either use regex codes or XLS forms. In this lesson, we're going to use the regex codes. So first of all, let me add the questions. So I've added these questions: first name, last name, then phone number, email address, and national ID. So let's preview our questions. So in first name, instead of typing the first name only, it may happen that you have included the last name. And on this, you're also going to enter the last name. So you can see how the data is going to look like. And on phone number, you can enter whatever you want. Like this, it's just going to accept. We need to avoid this using the addition criteria. So let's add the validation criteria using the regex codes. You can learn more about regex codes simply by going to regexr.com. So this is where you learn, build, and test the regex codes. And this platform uses JavaScript, as you can see on this. So before we start using the regex codes, let me just explain the syntax of regex code. So you put regex and a bracket, a dot, then comma, then you put a single quote, then you have to put this. After that, now you have to specify the type of data to be corrected. So the type of data is enclosed in square bracket. So here I'm going to say data type. You have to close this as well. So now you have to specify the number of characters for that particular response. So I'm going to say minimum, then maximum. After doing this, you have to add a $sign, then a single quote, and you have to add a bracket as well. So here you are going to specify the type of data to be corrected for that particular question. For example, if it is a numeric data, you have to type A to Z. But it's also case sensitive. So if you have typed this, it means that the response to be accepted, it should be in uppercase only. So if you want to correct both in uppercase, lowercase, or sentence case, you have to put A to Z like this, small letters. And on minimum, it's like minimum number of characters to be accepted. For example, I put 3. On maximum, maximum number of characters to be accepted. For example, I put 30. If someone adds more than 30 letters, that response is not going to be accepted. So this is how we use the regex codes. Now, let's use this on the questions that we have added here. So go to settings and on validation criteria. Remember our own first name. So you have to click on manually enter your validation code. So you go on validation code and type regex like this, open bracket, point, comma, then you do this. Now we specify the type of data to be corrected. So this is the first name. A first name is non-numeric data. So I put A to Z, and the first name can be typed in any case, lowercase, uppercase. So I'm also adding A to Z. After adding this, I have to close. Then now I have to specify number of characters for the first name. So for example, the minimum can be 3, and I put the maximum. For example, the maximum can be 15, and this means that a name cannot have more than 15 letters. So after doing this, I have to add $sign and have to add this. Then after closing, here we can simply add the error message. For example, please enter a valid name like this. So I can choose to save this. So let's preview for first name because we have added the condition. So if I enter innocent, then I put a space. I press enter, it says please enter a valid name. I remove a space, I press enter, you can see that it has accepted. What if I add the surname? You can see this. So it means that we have validated the first name. So for the last name, you can simply copy the code and paste it here. Now, let's add a code for a phone number. So I'm just going to say regex like this, and I have to add this. So I'm going to put 1 to 9, and I have to specify 0 to 9, the digits that can be accepted, and let me put the range. For example, For phone number, I just put 8 like this. And I put $sign. A cross. So this is the code for phone number. Let me just add, please enter a valid phone number. So we'll have it. So let us add a code for email address. And we're going to say regex. And now I have to specify, for example, the email is innocent98@gmail.com. So on this one, first of all, I have to write A to Z, like to accept non-numerical data. I also need to put 0 to 9 to accept numerical data. But an email address can have some symbols. So I have to add the symbols that needs to be accepted. So for example, I can put a dot, then I can put an underscore, I can also put a %, and sometimes I can also put a dash or plus like this. So after doing this, you know that we have @ on email address. So I'm going to put plus, it's like to add another data, and I'm going to add like this. Then I have to specify the data type for this one. For example, at Yahoo, at Gmail, I also have to specify here A to Z, and I can also put numbers like this. So it may also contain some symbols. So I have to specify the symbols there. Let me just put these two. And we also need .com, .mw, .etc. So I have to put dot here. And now I also need to specify the data type. A to Z, A to Z. And for this, let me just read the way it is. And for this last part, .com, .mw, .etc, etc, we should limit the number of characters here. So I'm just going to limit minimum 2, maximum 4. And I also need to put a $sign. And here I'm going to say, please enter a valid email address. So I have to close this. Let me add the code for national ID. So assuming we're collecting a national ID, and all those national IDs or the IDs, they are in uppercases only. So we're going to say regex. So dot comma, and here we need to put this, the syntax is A to Z. It can also have numbers, so 0 to 9. And here we need to specify the range. For example, if it has 8 digits, maximum and minimum, I have put 8. And here I have to put $sign. So here I'm going to say, please enter a valid national ID. So I have to close. So once you are done editing the regex codes, you can test your form and see whether you have made a mistake and correct it before you submit. Let's fill in the data. I'm going to put my first name here, and let me add a space. So you can see that C is not accepting. So I've removed the space, and for this one, let me just add this. And for phone number, I'm going to put like that. So it says enter valid phone number. Let's check the digits, how many digits I've used so far. Okay, there are 8, so I have to add 1. Now there are 9. For email address, I'm just going to say my address at gmail.com. port.com. You can see that it has accepted. So if I remove this, it says please enter a valid email address. I have to add this. And for this one, if I add more, it says please enter a valid email address, because for the limit of this we used 4. So we can just port.com. And for national ID, it should accept only capital letters with numbers and up to 80 characters. So for example, I says so like that, and I put it has accepted this. But if I remove this and put a small letter, it says please enter a valid national ID. So that's all on how to use regex codes to make validations in your form.